All right, amazing, amazing. So welcome everybody to session 3 of 4 of the Career Booster series with the British Council. So today's session is called From Action to Impact. Okay, so we're going to be talking mainly on how you can have an impactful CV and an impactful LinkedIn profile. The key word here that I'm going to repeat at least 100 times today is impact, okay? The audience that I have had in the previous few sessions was, I would say, a mid-level audience, a mid-career audience. I'm assuming that everybody already has a CV, even if it's not perfect, that you have some sort of CV. If you have a CV and you've applied for jobs before, just give me a thumbs up so I know how to tailor my slides. Just a thumbs up or a heart. All right, perfect. Amazing. All right. So today we're going to be talking about how you can have a more impactful CV. I know that sometimes in the audience, there are students or more junior professionals that are yet to develop CVs or are just starting out, and that's absolutely fine. So the main content is going to be about how to have a more impactful CV or a more impactful LinkedIn profile. And then, yes, I will still tell you some basics on how to develop a CV or a LinkedIn profile for the more junior professionals. So there will be something for everybody to learn. Before we start, we can just do quick intros in the chat. You can type your name, the country, you can type where you're based or your nationality, and tell me one thing that you have done in your career that you're proud of. So let's start on a really, um, joyful, optimistic Sunday afternoon mode. So tell me one thing that you're proud of. So for example, my name is Rowan. I live in Namibia, and I'm really proud of the Career Booster series that I'm doing with the British Council. So you can just type, and I'll read a few from the chat. Hiba from Egypt. Hiba, tell me something in your career that you're proud of. If you're feeling a bit gloomy and you don't have anything that you're proud of, you can tell me one thing you want to change in the world. Fatima from Egypt, Bindu from Zambia, Hi from Bangladesh. Hi from Sri Lanka. I'm proud of becoming a Achieving Scholar. Amazing. That's something to be really, really proud of. Talia, working in Mexico. Alex, Ecuadorian. I'm super proud of having studied in the UK. Amazing. Alex, what did you study, Alexandra? Charlene from Namibia. I'm proud of my growth. Amazing. Hiba, I'm a dentist and I recently shifted my career into psychology for coaching parents of neurodivergent kids. Amazing. And that is something to be really, really proud of. Ahmed from Egypt. I had my master's from SOAS. Amazing. It is an incredible school. Maybe one day I hope to study there too. Proud of being a Achieving Scholar, lots of Achievers. Aya from Aswan. Hi, Aya. Lovely to meet you. I'm proud of empowering great rural women in Aswan socially and economically. That's amazing. My name is Ahmed from Egypt. I want to be an exceptional corporate lawyer. Wow. Amira, a member of parliament. Wow, I'm proud of my human-centered legal interventions. Okay, you see, I knew it was going to be a tough crowd. So there's somebody's asking in the chat how they can access the recordings. I will do Q&A at the end, as usual. When I have a moment, I will post the recording. I posted it on YouTube on my channel. It's called No More Job Secrets. I will put the recording of the first session in the chat. And for the second session, I don't have the recording yet, but I can share the slides. I'll read a few more. Noella from Nigeria. I'm proud of coaching people who want to transit from career to owning a business. Wow. Okay. It's really cool. I have led a major HR transformation for a big bank in my country. Amazing. So if you see anybody in the comments that you want to connect with, send them a message on LinkedIn and connect and tell them what resonated with you. But it's really nice to have such a diverse crowd. Okay, so my turn for introductions. For those of you who are here for the third time, this is the third time you're seeing this slide. So we had 3 sessions so far. This is the third one. The first session was how to apply for UN jobs, how to work in the international sector, mainly in in the UN. I will share the recording of the session, and there's a lot of tips if any of you are interested in working in the UN. And then 2 weeks ago, I had a session with my colleague Rishan on AI tools for career development. It was also a very interesting session. There was about 10 tools that we presented, and I will share the 10 tools, the presentation, the slide deck, and feel free to explore and click through the slides for the free sessions. I'll do Q&A at the end, I promise. So my name is Rawan, and the reason that I'm doing these sessions is because I'm a volunteer with the British Council. I am the ambassador for the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 8, which is decent work and economic growth. If you want to work for the UN and you don't know what the SDGs are, Google them. There's 17 goals, and the goal that's closest to my heart is number 8. I advocate for youth employment. I have written a book called No More Job Secrets, and I work at the United Nations World Food Program in Namibia, and I've previously worked at CRS, UNDP, and I am an alumna of Swansea University. So today's presentation has 5 parts. First, since the title is How to Create an Impactful CV and an Impactful LinkedIn Profile, first things first, I will tell you what is impact, because I can't dive straight into how to create an impactful CV and an impactful LinkedIn if you can't even identify what is impact or you don't know what impact is. So that's the first part. It's an introduction, a few slides. This is a little bit boring, but bear with me, it will get more fun and more practical. But I just wanted to establish a foundation so that we're all on the same page. And then we're going to talk about how to create an impactful CV, and then the basic elements of the CV. For those of you who are still beginners, or for those of you that also want to polish their whole CV, and then an impactful LinkedIn. I'll tell you a few tips on having a LinkedIn profile that resonates with others, that helps you connect and helps you make the most out of your LinkedIn. And then at the end, we'll do Q&A. So before I tell you what is impact, can somebody tell me in the slides, in the chat in a few words, what is impact? If you were to explain impact to a 5-year-old, what would you tell them? You can give me a definition or give me an example. An impression, I love it. Yes, so impact is leaving an impression. I like your definition, Hema. I'm going to use it. Who else wants to give it a shot? To make a positive difference. Okay, good. Let me read a few more. Effectiveness, to inspire the lives we're able to touch. To make a mark, wow. To change lives for good. Change, so I'm seeing the word change come again and again. Influence, good. To stand out, yes. To make a lasting difference. To achieve an intended goal. Ask yourself, in your own CV, if somebody looks at your CV, would their first impression be that this person, however you've defined it, if somebody looks at your CV, look at your CV and honestly answer. If somebody looks at your CV, does it make a lasting impression? Does it show the changes you've made in people's lives? Does it show that you have created opportunities? Or is it just a shopping list of tasks? So look at the definitions that other people have written and ask yourself, take a look at your CV before we start and ask yourself, does your CV, not every impact is necessarily positive. That's true, Amita. Very good. So does your CV make a lasting impression on others? Does it show that you've made a positive change? If you've made a negative change, you're not going to list that on your CV, right? Having a favorable result. Does your CV show that you're leaving a positive result on others? If not, we're here to change that, okay? So first part, an introduction on measuring impact. I always use this analogy to explain impact. So I do monitoring and reporting at WFP, and part of my role entails a lot of explaining, okay? A lot of teaching. So whenever I'm explaining what impact is or what an outcome is, I always use this simple, very simple analogy of cake, okay? Not all of you have baked cakes before, but imagine, just close your eyes right now. Imagine you're making a cake. So just close your eyes. Imagine you're a baker, you own a very nice bakery somewhere, let's say in Paris, okay? You're a nice baker, you have a small bakery shop, you own it, and then what do you need to make a cake? You need some inputs, right? So in your little bakery in Paris, you have some flour, some cooking oil, some eggs. So these are your inputs. Okay, you don't need to list inputs on your CV. Some people do, you don't need them. But for every activity, there are inputs. And CVs are essentially a bunch of activities. You don't need that part, but you need it for the analogy. And then you need a process. Processes should not be part of the CV, right? So if you are baking a cake, you shouldn't tell me in your CV, I put the cake in the oven. If you have a lot of processes in your CV, for example, let's say you're a hiring manager, you're not going to say an HR manager, you're not going to write on your CV that you were headhunting on LinkedIn and you put an ad in the newspaper and you paid a job board. You're not going to do that. These are processes. If your CV has processes as well, that's not the place for them. Maybe during an interview, there would be space for you to elaborate, but if you want an impactful CV, you need to cut to the chase. You cannot list processes. So already, if you are looking at your CV and you're noticing processes, I put the cake in the oven, I was checking LinkedIn, all of these are processes, it's not the place for them. This is where most people get stuck. Listing processes is a rare mistake on CVs. Listing inputs, again, rare mistake, but they're still mistakes. Listing outputs is where most people get stuck. So outputs are direct results of activities. Most people, when you look at their CVs, it's a bunch of outputs. I managed 6 people. I baked 150 cupcakes. I procured 7 vehicles for my organization. So for most people, this is where they fall short in their CV. It's not wrong at all. You need action words. You need to put outputs, but you need to go beyond that to make a difference, to make an impact, to have a favorable result, to use all these nice expressions. Manage 6 people. Yes, so manage. So let's say, for example, it's an action word. So somebody's asking, how is manage 6 people an output? So most people will write an action verb followed by a noun. I managed 6 people, but that's missing. You need to have some sort of result, Fotis. So you need to say, I managed 6 people, let's say for 3 years, which led to increased sales by 200%. There's no result. So most people get stuck by writing an action verb followed by a noun, but they do not have a result. So if you want to take this to the next level, if you're looking at your CV and most of the bullet points on your CV answer the question what. So if every point on your CV says, what did you do? I managed 6 people. What did you do? I built a road. That's fine. That's great. It's amazing. It's an output. But why did you do that? Were you trying? So for example, let's say I want to write the sessions that I'm doing with the British Council on my CV. So instead of writing, for example, I trained 60 people on AI tools for career development, I can say I trained 60 people, which led to something. Levels of satisfaction from the session were at least 90%. At least 4 people were able to secure new jobs as a result of the sessions, something like that. So if you're able to provide some sort of explanation to say why you were doing what you're doing, that's great. And even at a higher level, if you were able to say the so what, that is the impact that you are seeking. And I will give you an easy formula to do that just so that it doesn't sound so abstract. So outputs are what you do. So for example, I baked a cake. So how many cakes did you bake? 1 cake, that's your output, 1 cake. But outcomes, why you did it and what did you achieve? That's the higher level, okay? So for example, I baked a cake or I baked 70 cakes, which led to, let's say, nutritional status is improving in that place, or 60 people finding jobs in that community. But if you want to go beyond that, what was the result? So let's say in your nice bakery in Paris, after you've opened the bakery, so yes, you bake 50 cakes a day. Great, amazing. What was the outcome? Maybe the nutritional statuses of the people that come every day are improving. But what's the high level impact? The so what? The so what can be, for example, something like crime rate decreased since you opened your bakery because now the street is well lit. It can be that loneliness, for example, decreased in that certain suburb because people have a place to socialize. So the impact is always the so what. If you look at your CV and you can answer the question, so what? That's great. You're on the right track. So that's the easy way to test if you have a list of tasks or a list of short-term results, the what, or if you have the why, a higher level, or the so what. It's not always easy to do this, but you can try. So for example, let's say you are a construction engineer, okay? Most people will write, I have built or repaired 5 bridges. I have paved 50 miles of road. But if you want to take that at a higher level, regardless of what it is that you do in your career, this can be something like 50 accidents were reduced in 2025 as a result of the roads that were paved. What do you think if you were a recruiter? What resonates with you more? Which one would make you stop and say, oh, wow, this person can make a difference? If the person says, as a result of the 50 miles of road I paved through the construction company, 50 accidents were reduced, pollution was decreased by 23%, or if the person just says, I was responsible for paving 50 miles of road. Which one do you think is more stronger? Yeah, the green or the blue? Just type in the chat green or blue. Which one do you think is stronger? The blue? Good. Blue, blue. Good. So we're on the right track. So just as an example, so for example, can somebody tell me their job in the chat? What do you do? Can somebody type their job title? Machine learning. Oh my God. Okay, so I got a hard one, but let me go with the first one that came in the chat. Machine learning. So somebody's saying they're responsible for machine learning. Machine learning is, in essence, in my understanding, AI, okay? So for example, let's say an output can be, the person that said they are a machine learner, the output can be, I developed or I trained a chatbot. That's an output, right? This is what he did, the what. But if we're gonna go to the next level, the why, this can say, as a result of the AI tool that I have developed, performance of individuals was improved. The system was improved. The work was faster. For example, this is the outcome, the higher level, okay? The why. Why did you develop an AI tool? Why are you doing this machine learning? There has to be a why, right? And then what is the impact of his work? The so what? Maybe, I'm just making a hypothetical example, right? So maybe let's say I'm imagining that he developed an AI tool or he did some sort of machine learning to develop an AI tool that can calculate, for example, the amount of pollution produced per product in the market. So every time you go to the supermarket, guys, I'm making something up. Every time you go to the supermarket, this AI tool, I can take a picture, say, of this bottle of water, and it can tell me this bottle of water led to 2% pollution in the atmosphere or 3%. So he can say that because of this tool, let's say I had 200 users. So I developed a tool, I had 200 users, and the impact is that people are better able to make decisions through a very quick analysis. And there's less pollution on the environment because of the intelligence of this tool. So do you guys see the difference between the impact and the output? So most people will say, I developed an AI tool for the person that they said they're a machine learner. But people will stop there, right? They're not going to tell you the next level. What was the impact? What was the so what of their work? Is that clear? Okay, good. So if you have a CV that's filled with outputs, it might look like this: bullet points, bullet points, bullet points, arrows being thrown everywhere. Okay. But if you have an outcome-oriented CV, or if you can even take it to the next level to frame an impact. Impacts are not always visible. They need a bit of time to track. They're expensive to track. Your CV will look something like this. So a recruiter or an HR person will look at your CV, and instead of like a lot of bullet points that are not so relevant to the job, that don't really show the difference that you're making, yes, of course, Ahmed, impact is hard in most jobs. So that's why people don't do it, because it's not very easy. But the goal today is not that it's not possible to have an impact in every single bullet point of your CV, but at least per job in your job history on your CV, you should try to have some sort of impact. You're going to work every day. Why do you get up in the morning? What's the so what? What difference are you making through your work? You need to try to put that in a sentence. And this is why we're here today. But Ahmad is absolutely right. It's not easy at all to try to show the impact that you're making. But it's worth it because you don't want to be this guy, right? That's throwing arrows all over the place. You want to be this guy who's hitting an actual business goal. So why does this matter? Okay, so this is the introduction, but I wanted to give you an introduction to really, really show you why does this matter. So why do you think this matters? Why do you think it matters to have impact on your CV? What difference does it make? Nobody's brave. Come on, somebody be brave. To show passion about your job, yes, of course. Because to show expertise as well, of course. Because most people can bake a cake, but those who are really, really, really passionate about their jobs are the ones that are more likely to go above and beyond and make a change and track that change, right? So I agree, right? Some people who are not passionate do make a difference, but mostly it's the people that really, really care, that go above and beyond. It shows what difference that you're making. It shows how much you have done. It enables the recruiter access to your qualities at a glance. Good. Okay, so measuring true progress. That's the first thing. Most people tell you what they've done, but you want to show the recruiter what it is that you have changed, right? So you want to go from tasks to transformations. You don't want to be the person that just baked the cake. You want to be the person that reduced loneliness in the neighborhood. You want to be the person that increased jobs. You want to be the person that increased safety, for example. You want to be the person, I don't remember who said they were from Aswan and they were empowering communities. So you want to be the person who's empowering communities. So you want to be the person bringing the so what, not just the what, right? So this is why impact matters. The second thing is visibility of success. So I read this statistic once that on average, a recruiter scans a CV for about 7 seconds. The people who are HR in this in this room can tell us if that's correct or not. How long does it take for you to scan a CV? But on average, people scan a CV, a recruiter will scan your CV for 7 seconds. So in 7 seconds, how can you capture somebody's attention, right? You need to make it really easy and really visible for them to see your success and to clearly show it in a measurable way. So this is why it's important, okay? This is why I'm giving you this introduction. So what's a common mistake? I thought it's scanned by AI tools. Haga, story for another day. But it's not true, by the way, for every single job. Many organizations scan in person. At the beginning of this year, I hired 4 people. I received about 600 applications and there was no AI scanning. And I hired incredible people. So it is worth the effort to go through the applications, to scan through them, and to see the best fit for the job that it is you're searching for. Especially now with the misuse of AI, many applications are starting to look very copy-paste. So it's worthwhile for many recruiters to go to scan through the applications to hire the best fit. So common measurements, common mistake. Many people list tasks on their CV, and we discussed that. So many people will list one task after the other, one task after the other, but they do not really tell you what shifted or what changed. Invisible progress. So success is hidden without clear metrics. So you look at the CV and you kind of have to guess, like, what was the difference? Why were you doing this? You don't really understand. So of course, this applies to your CV, but you can also apply the concept that we're about to share in your project reports and so forth. And we will talk a little bit about AI today. I will give you a formula to apply this concept on AI. I will give you a few AI tools, but this is what AI cannot do. So Heather is asking a very important question about AI. So for example, AI can rewrite your CV. Of course, AI can do that. We all know that. But can AI know how many people you supervised or the difference that your work made in the community? Or, for example, how much money you saved as a result of the work, how much pollution you decreased, how many people were empowered to start their own businesses as a result of their work. AI cannot know that. It will be guessing. It will be giving you wrong information. So even if you want to use AI to put impact in your CVs, you will still need to provide it with the facts. So this is what we're here to do today. It's not an English class. You can use AI, of course, to improve your bullet points, but you still need to provide it with factual information to help you reframe it in a correct way. So I'll tell you 5 steps. So the first part of the talk today was the introduction. So part 2 is 5 steps to create an impactful work history on a CV. So right now we're talking about the work history section on a CV. I'll tell you in a moment the different sections in the CV, but right now we're talking about the work history, which is the bulk of your CV, where you list a job and then some bullet points underneath it of what you were doing in the job. Yes, Kishore, we're gonna talk about AI tools in a moment that can help you do this. We're gonna get to it. Just give me a moment. So, how can you take your CV from action to impact? All right. So there's 5 steps that we're going to go through. The first one is an action verb, what you did. This is the easy part. Most people get it right. I would say almost all people get it right. So can somebody just tell me one bullet point from their CV? Just type it in the chat. For the next section, it would help if you have your CV somehow in front of you so you can follow along, see what you're doing right, what it is that you need to improve. Let me see if somebody put a bullet point for me in the chat. Coordinated over. Thank you so much, Francisco. That was so fast. I love people who are so fast like that. Coordinated over 20 urban design and architecture projects across national and international institutions, ranging from small-scale interventions to comprehensive plans. Perfect. And this is what most people will probably have on their CV. So the first word of Francisco's bullet point is coordinated, which is a very strong action verb. I coordinated, right? He put it in the past tense because this was probably a job that he was doing in the past. And then he has a noun, over 20 urban design and architecture projects. He also has a metric, which is a quantifiable result. And he has some information on these projects. What's missing here is the impact. So he coordinated over 20 urban designs. It doesn't really say how this was achieved and the outcome, the so what. I coordinated this, but so what is also missing. So we're going to talk a little bit more on how to possibly improve that. And then Francesco, you can come in and you can tell us what you would write differently. So the first part is the action verb, what you did. I coordinated, I conducted, I taught, I bought, I sold. Action verb. And the second part is the subject. So I'll tell you what the 4 Ps are in the moment, but a subject, okay? Who or what was influenced. The third part, a metric, simply a number. So if you look at your CV at a quick glance, you should have some numbers. How many people have numbers if they look at their CVs besides your phone number? Numbers in the bullet points. Just give me a thumbs up if you have numbers in your CV. Amazing. Alexandra is saying yes. Sarah saying yes. A few yeses. All right, Hagar is also saying yes. So at a quick glance, your CV should have numbers. If it doesn't, this is and this is an easy way as well that you can introduce results. So as you all were saying, it's not always easy to have impact. I agree, but you can introduce results by having metrics. So even if you say, I managed people, that is so much weaker than you saying, I managed 10 people over 3 projects that were like over a budget of $6 million, something like that. If you have numbers, it automatically gives weight to your words. The technique, this is optional, and then the result, which is the ultimate outcome. So if you want to ask yourself a few questions to improve the bullet points in your CV, the first one is, what did you do? So this is, again, the part that most people get right. They put an action verb in the correct tense. Past for the past, present for the present. The second part is, who or what did your work influence? I call these the 4 Ps. We can call them 5 Ps as well. So project, process, product, people, or policy. So you could say, I managed a project on this topic, on climate change, for example, or I influenced the process for developing an AI tool, or I worked on a policy for the person that was saying she works with neurodivergent children. I worked on a policy that helped improve the education system for 35 neurodivergent kids in Upper Egypt, something like that. So who or what did your work influence? How much or how many? This is where Francesco did a really good job of saying the number of projects, quantifiable results. How did you do it? The technique or the method. This is optional, but where possible, you can include it. And then the last thing is, what was the result? Okay, so we're going to go through the 5 parts one by one, just so that it's easier to understand. So as we said, at a quick glance, your CV should have some numbers. If it doesn't, then you're in the right place because you need to include them. Okay, so question 1. We're going to go through the 5-step formula. Remember, this formula is for every bullet point in your CV. I will also show you an online tool that I discovered to help you rewrite those bullet points if it's a bit difficult for you to do it on your own. So question number 1 is, what did you do at that job? Okay, so this is where your action word comes in. Question number 2, who or what did your work influence? A process, a project, a person, or a product, or bonus policy. Question number 3, how much or how many? So how much or how many of question number 2. So how many projects, how many processes, how many products did you sell? How many people did you manage? And so forth. Question number 4, how did you do one? So if you say I sold 500 TVs, how did you do it? Maybe you launched a social media campaign, or maybe you had a promotion, whatever. So how did you do it? What was the result of answers 1, 2, 3, 4? So this is the formula. 1 bulleted achievement on your CV should have an action verb in the correct tense, followed by a noun. Simple English, guys, right? So a noun, and then measurement, and then a technique. So the first part is the action verb. You need to have a strong action verb, okay? Like managed, generated, created, improved. Some people put a bit of like weaker action verbs like supported, but you want to be your best self. You're the superstar in your CV, right? So if you write something like supported, it's supported who? The CV is about you. So use as strong of an action verb as possible. Okay, also never use we, and you also don't have to use a pronoun at all. So don't use we and don't use I. The recruiter knows the CV is about you. So don't say, I managed, I improved. You can just start the bullet point right away with the verb. Saying I is redundant and it doesn't add anything at all. So action verb. I will be sharing the presentation, so don't feel stressed about taking notes. But if you just even Google action words for your CV, you'll find loads and loads of them. So you can pick the ones that suit your work the most. But Many of you got those right. So conducted, compiled, controlled, procured, verified, all these are strong action verbs. So you start your bullet point right away with an action verb. Already it shows that you are here to make a difference, right? You're assertive and you're starting with a strong word because you're a strong candidate. Number two, we said the first part of the formula is the action word. Number two is the noun. So for example, if you say I managed, you managed too. So we said it should be a process, a project, a person, or a product, bonus, policy. So you need to have a noun, okay? If you don't remember what a noun is a word that names something. So one of those 4 Ps, you will be good to go. This provides a context for the person that's reading your CV. So you can't just say, I managed. It's not a sentence anymore. You need to have managed something, right? Or if you say, I designed, what did you design? You need to have a word after it. Otherwise, it's not going to be a sentence. So for example, a social media you designed or a team that you managed. So which of the 4 Ps? A process, a project, a person, or a product. So that's the second part. Number 3 is a number. So a number, any number, okay? It's better that you put the number as a number, like not in letters. So if you want to type 7, you put the number 7. You don't type it in an alphabetical form. This is easier for a person to spot and to read. So a number can be a percentage, it can be a financial amount. It can also be, for example, level of satisfaction and so forth. But it's better, in my opinion, it's an opinion to write it in numerical form, not in alphabetical form. There are rules to do this, like after a certain number, you should spell it out, but in CV world, it just catches the recruiter's eye more. The technique, so this is part 4, action verb, and then you have to have some sort of noun. That was number 2. And then number 3 was a metric, a number. Number 4 is the technique. So a technique, if relevant, you could say, for example, like the example I just gave a few seconds ago. So I sold this through having a marketing campaign or something like that. So a technique, if relevant, okay? Or if it's possible for you to add it. And then finally, the outcome, which led to what? Which led to increased sales, which led to cost savings by 100,000 US dollars. You need to have some sort of outcome. Again, it's not possible to have this in every single bullet point, but as much as possible, try to have at least a really strong bullet point like that, showing the so what of your work for every job in your work history in your CV. So summary. One bulleted achievement is an action verb in the correct tense, followed by a noun, followed by a measurement, followed by a technique, and then the result. So this is an example of a CV I saw. Somebody wrote, managed a social media campaign. What do you guys think? Is this a strong bullet point if somebody says, I managed a social media campaign? This is the improved version that the person wrote. I managed a team of 5 to launch an Instagram campaign on cholera awareness, increasing engagement by 200% and raising £10,000 in donations. What about, okay, after is better, right? So after is better because there's quantifiable outcomes, it highlights leadership, and it demonstrates value. So if I'm hiring this person, of course, it could still be improved. It can be made shorter, and I'll show you a quick tool to do that. But at least if you say manage the social media campaign, I don't even know, like social media is so broad. Is it Instagram? Was it TikTok? Was it YouTube? What did you manage? How did you manage it? What was the result, right? Somebody's asking, is it better to have one long bullet point or multiple bullet points? How long should the phrases be? How many bullet points for the job? Okay, good questions. Okay, so how long should the bullet points be? I'll show you a tool in a second that tells you the exact number. Not the exact, but more or less the number of words that you should have for a bullet point. We're going to go through that in a second. But in general, in general, on average, right? A bullet point on a CV is between 12 to 20 words. This is HR science. In general, 8 to 12 to 20 words. So how many words is this? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 is too short, right? That's why it's very generic. But in general, if you want to count by the words, I don't remember who asked the questions, it should be between 12 to 20 words or between 85 to 120 characters. Just if you want to do a quick look with your eyes. But this is way, way too short. How many pages should a CV have? Okay, again, good question. So today we're talking about CVs, right? A CV is your work history profile. Pay attention. Sometimes when you're applying for a job, you're asked for a resume. So if you're asked for a resume is between 1 to 2 pages. Resume is literally a translation of the word summary. But if somebody's asked for a CV, yes, Ahmed is right. It's usually between 3 to 5 pages, but be careful. If you're asked for a CV and you are in the early start of your career, you don't really have much experience, you shouldn't just have many pages for the sake of having pages, right? We said a recruiter will scan your CV for 7 seconds. So you don't really just want to have a long CV with no information. That doesn't help at all. So yeah, if you're asked for a resume, you should have 1 to 2 pages. If you're asked for a CV, roughly it's between 3 to 5 pages, but it's really not the more the merrier. If you have a stronger, shorter CV that's customized, then great. Should we customize CVs for every target job? Look, I know many people on LinkedIn will tell you, yes, you have to. In real life, that's not always possible, right? So I will show you a few hacks for you to, a few tools that can help you match your CV to a job description. If for people who apply to different jobs, like I know people who are like passionate about social media, but they also want to do things like operations management, or they're not sure, people who have a bit of a diverse skill set. If you're applying for, I was coaching this girl, for example, that does different types of design. Like she does graphic design and she does website design. So she has 2 CVs and 2 portfolios. For clients that ask for graphic design, social media, she gives them that portfolio. And for clients who ask for website design, she gives them the other portfolio. If you are this person, then sure. But if you're applying for the same job again and again and again, you can customize your CV a little bit, change a few keywords, but it's very difficult to change your CV for every single job. You can customize it a bit, but you're not doing a whole new CV from scratch. So Sonia's asking, how can I show my skills in 2 pages? Okay, so again, a resume is 1 to 2 pages. This is a summary, an absolute summary. You're gonna tailor the summary for the job that you are applying for. If you're asked for a CV is normally between 3 to 5 pages. It can be longer. So it depends on what the job is asking for. So you can use AI. So for example, you can say using the formula 1 bullet achievement, action verb, noun, measurable result technique, help me write my bullet, help me write this in a results language. Again, the AI can help you with the English, but it cannot give you the numbers. So this was another example from another CV. Established a functional community feedback mechanism. The improved version is established a functional hotline, resolving 500 complaints within 3 months, thereby increasing trust. So what was the result? The result is that the difference is that one has a result. This was another one from another CV that I saw. The person came with managed a social media campaign. And then when they improved it, the bullet point was managed a marketing team of 5. So here they have managed, action verb, marketing team noun, 5, a metric, to create a Silent Trios Instagram campaign on autism awareness. So the person also included the technique, leading to increasing followers by 200% and increasing donations by 25%. So over here, the person, instead of just saying manage the social media campaign, they showed their passion, they showed their result. No, so again, Adebole is asking, I used to think the resume is the same as a CV. It's not, it's not. Maybe you can just do a quick Google search on the difference between the two. But a resume is a summary, a summarized version of your CV. People use the words interchangeably, but they're not necessarily the same. You can customize according to what the recruiter is asking for. Normally, a CV is longer, includes the full history. Okay, can you please go back to the technique page? Okay, let me go back to the technique page really quickly. So a technique is simply how you did something, right? So for example, the person that said in the example, in their example that I managed a social media campaign, what did you do, right? So the girl wrote, I managed a social media campaign on autism. For those of you who don't know, autism is, I don't want to misdefine it, but autism is, let's say, a neurodevelopmental disorder. And in about 20 or 25% of people with autism, they are nonverbal. So in her example, the girl wrote, I managed a silent campaign. So she's raising awareness about autism, that some people are nonverbal. They're not able to speak at all. Neurodivergence, yes. So in her example, the girl said the technique. So how did she raise awareness? By having a silent reels campaign. So the campaigns that she did were silent to raise awareness. So this is the technique. How did you do it? And it's important because it's hard to make a technique up. Some people don't include techniques in their CV, they include it in their interviews, and that's fine. If you feel it's really relevant and adds weight to what it is you're doing, you can include it. So these were just some examples, real examples that I wanted to show you. There was a question, a few slides, a few comments. I can't keep up with the questions, but there was a question, somebody asking, how do I use numbers? I can't measure in my work, something like that. So for people whose work is more qualitative, you can still have numbers in your CV. So for example, satisfaction levels. So for example, you could say, I created a new product. If you say I sold 500 products, that's very quantitative. But if you say 30% of people were satisfied with the product, how much time was saved, for example, was there any change as a result of your work? All of these allow you to include numbers even in qualitative work. So this is an example. Instead of saying facilitated community dialogue sessions to improve intergroup relations, this is also a common thing you would see in a CV of people who do a lot of community engagement or such work. You can still include numbers. So you could say facilitated 10 sessions, 10 community dialogue sessions, resulting in a 25% reduction in conflicts as measured by community conflict resolution records. So always ask yourself, so what, even if you are mainly doing qualitative work. So I did this, so what, right? I wanted to show you all an example of, this is a real CV. I just changed the person's name. So this is a real CV. Oops, what did I do? One second. Okay, so this is a real CV. Let me just zoom in a little bit so you could see. Okay, so this is somebody's CV who has a role of resource mobilization. Somebody very, very experienced, like let's say 20 years of experience. But instead of just saying in his CV, like I raised $2 million for a project, he also included some things like the so what. So for example, led an effective strategy for mobilizing additional resources, resulting in a cost recovery of over 400,000 US dollars for services provided. So he's not only telling you what he did, he's saying the results of his work, you know, that he was able to, over here, for example, played a pivotal role in formulating the second phase of this project, a $16 million project. addressing the needs of the rural poor, rehabilitating the agriculture infrastructure. So he's telling you the results of his work. He's not just focusing on the resource mobilization, which is the essence of his CV. I want to show you something else with the CV since it's a real example. Again, this person has a lot of experience, but I liked his CV because he did something which I thought was really unique, really special. So in the job that he was applying for, there was core competencies. So a lot of jobs, especially in international development, will tell you we're looking for somebody who has skills in these core competencies. So in this specific job, it was strategic thinking, resource mobilization, partnering and networking. So he made a small summary of those core competencies. He wrote, for example, again, I'm going to share this so you'll be able to read it in detail. But for each of the core competencies in the job description, he just wrote 2 sentences on how he exactly meets those core competencies through his experience. So he has a lot of numbers, but he also focused on the core competencies. This is another example that I found on Google. Again, the person has a section on his CV for achievements. This person is a fundraising expert and he has some achievements or results on his CVs. So for example, he wrote spectacularly. So over here, he also did something special, which is he has an adverb like spectacularly, right? It's not something that you see, but it's nice that he was able to include that really well. So he has an adverb, he has contributed, which is a verb, to raising 1.8 million pounds for children with leukemia by promoting the world's first underwater marathon. So this already sounds really special, right? He told you the technique. And you know the result. He was able to raise 1.8 million pounds for children living with leukemia through doing this underwater marathon. So by the person telling you the result, it shows the result and the technique. It shows you that they're invested in the work. You can already see just from one bullet point that this person is so passionate. A tool to help you. So this is one of the tools that I found online. Let me show you. Second. You can see my screen, right? So let me over here put one of the bullet points that somebody put in the chat. 1 second. Let me go back and copy one bullet point. Okay. I'm going to copy one from Sunday, updated internal audit procedures and developed a comprehensive audit plan. I'm copy pasting something that somebody wrote, okay, in the chat. Oops. Let me try again. So this is a tool called cultivatedculture.com, and there is a resume bullet analyzer. You get a few free ones, but you can try it to get the gist of it. So over here, okay. So over here, I put Sunday's bullet point and it analyzed it for me. It gave me a score of 30, okay? And it analyzes different things. So over here, this bullet point can be better. You have 0 measurable results, which is not good. You need to have about 15%. You have 40% action words. Normally, it's about 15% because he has updated, developed, which is good. He has some hard and soft skills. The target is about 35%. He has about 30. Common words, 30%, okay, which is fine. So over here, this bullet point analyzer gives you some insight. So over here, Sunday's bullet point is too short. Remember, we said a bullet point should be 12 to 20 words, more or less. And it needs to be between 85 to 120 characters. So Sunday, your bullet point is a little bit too short. If it's a little bit longer, so over here, even if it's 1 word longer, yes, I'm going to share the presentation, Ahmed, don't worry. If it's 1 word longer, if somebody wants to make this bullet point 1 word longer, what word would you increase? I hope you answer correctly. Okay, no problem. I hope somebody answers correctly. Yes, the measure. Well done. Thank you, Francisco, for putting the link for me. Yes, you need to put a measure. So if Sunday already says updated 6 internal audit procedures, isn't that already so much stronger? What do you think? What's stronger? Updated internal audit procedures or updated 6 internal audit procedures? Let's just try it, okay? Let's just try it together to give you a gist of what this exercise is like. Let me just put 6 internal audit procedures, and I'm going to analyze it again and see. I think, what was the score the first time? So the score was 30. Now he's at 51. So it already went up by about let's say 20% just by including that one change, right? You already have a measurable result. So that's great. This is just a small way that you can, it's still a little bit too short, but this is just a quick way that you can do this. All right, so there's this tool that Francesco was very kind enough to put in the chat, and you can go through it, and it will help you analyze some of your bullet points. I have 30 minutes and I still have 2 topics to cover. So how should research papers be listed in a CV? As researchers, we often have a large number of publications. Good question, Sidra. Look, again, if you have a CV and it depends on what type of job you're applying for. Okay, so if you are applying for an academic job at a university, by all means, list your publications. This is why they're hiring you. But if, let's say you're applying for an evaluation officer role at an international organization, they're not going to be so keen on your publications. They will be keen that you know how to manage a project, that you know how to work with others, that you're interested in going to the field, that you're able to get things done, right? So it depends on what type of job that it is you are applying for. If you're applying for an academic role, you can have a full section for research and publications, and by all means, include them. On your LinkedIn, there's a section that has a featured section on your profile. You can feature the publications that have made a large impact in your sector or so forth. Addressing a gap period on a CV, we can talk about that as well in a second. Okay, so remember the formula that I just gave you? This is for every bullet point in your CV. As much as possible, try to have an action verb, a noun, and a result, even if it's difficult for you to put the technique, and if it's a little bit difficult for you to put the result. In reality, even if a recruiter is not using AI, they're likely to scan your CV, let's say for 7-8 seconds. So it doesn't really do you any benefit to have a very, very, very long CV because a recruiter will most likely not even get to the last page. So it's better to at least focus on the jobs or the impact that you have had that's really, really relevant for the job that you're applying for. So the best CVs land you an interview and ultimately an amazing job. So we were talking about the job history section of your CV and how you can make that more impactful. But of course, the job history is not going to be like part of a vacuum. The job history lives in your CV, and your CV has other components. So for the people that are asking, what's a CV? What's the difference between a CV and a resume? A CV is short for curriculum vitae. I hope I pronounced it correctly. It's a document used to sell yourself to prospective employers. And normally it's between 3 to 5 pages, but it can be longer. If a recruiter is asking for a resume it translates into summary, and that's usually 1 to 2 pages. Okay, so what to include in your CV? As much as possible, include the things that are specific for the job that you are applying for, but a CV can be longer. Okay, good. Fotis is helping me answer the question. A gap is not necessarily a gap. Okay, so how does a recruiter rate your CV? We already talked a recruiter will look for impact or the results or the change that you're making or all those things. Other things that a recruiter will look for is, I did a bit of like internet research. What do recruiters look for? So your most recent role, of course, how long have you been in that position? The organizational recognition. most people, unfortunately or fortunately, still look for that. If you work in a really well-known organization, it somehow gives you a little bit of credibility. Your experience, is there career progression? You need to show that as well in your bullet points. Even if you are doing the same role, is there career progression? Are you doing different tasks? Keyword search. I'll show you again the same tool that we were looking at right now. There is a feature to match your job, to match your CV to the job that you're applying for. So for example, if you're applying for a job for resource mobilization, and again and again and again, this job is asking for resource mobilization skills, then by all means, this is a word that you need to include. Are there any gaps? We can talk about that in a moment, but in general, when it comes to gaps, a little secret like tip or trick that I tell people who have gaps on your CVs. So if there's a gap, remember the word gap, right? It's GAP. So G is great. So even if you have a large gap on your CV, you can be great. So you can be a great candidate that cannot be refused. How you can be great. So A is the second letter, sorry, of the word gap. So you need to be authentic. So if you do have a gap on your CV and a recruiter asks you about it, disclose and explain the gaps in your CV rather than trying to conceal them. Even on LinkedIn right now, I see more and more people having a section for a career break. And then P is be prepared to explain the gap. Be to the point when asking to explain the gap. Be positive and productive and personal. So Francesco is saying if you were volunteering, improving your skills, or freelancing, this is being really, really positive. So you don't necessarily have to hide the gap in your CV. You can be great, be authentic, and then be positive, be productive, and be personal. And at the end of the day, a really, really good recruiter is hiring a person. They're not hiring a piece of paper. So if you say, I took a career gap because I was taking care of a sick child or a sick parent, or I was accompanying my spouse to support his career progression. This shows that you're empathetic, it shows you're kind, it shows you're reliable. So there's really nothing for you to hide or be ashamed of. You just need to frame it in a positive light, as Fotis said. Thank you so much. I have people in the chat who are very supportive today. Personal online footprint. Your LinkedIn is super, 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 super important. You need to have an update LinkedIn. Most recruiters do check it nowadays. General eligibility. Eligibility to work in the duty station, in the specific function. Again, this is really important. Let's say you're applying for a role that requires you to speak fluent Spanish and you didn't read the job description and you're applying. It really shows that you're not being proactive, you're not reading the job description. Or if you're applying for a job that says you need to have a work permit and you don't. So really read the job description so that you do not exclude yourself from the beginning. Overall look and style of the CV. So overall, your CV needs to have a good grammar, a good order of ideas, and to show that you're able to present concept clearly. General tips. Keep it simple and short. Many people just prefer to have longer CVs, but if you don't need to, it's not a must, right? You can use a standard font. No need to have a very busy CV. Have a pleasant CV that provides a pleasant reading experience. Maintain a professional look. Make sure you check grammar, very basic things, and make a good use of the space. Don't have a lot of information. For the person that's asking, somebody asked me, do all the roles have to be the same length of bullet points? It's a good question. It sounds like a simple question, but in general, it's not always the rule, but in general, the older, the shorter. The more recent, the longer. So the older, the shorter, the older, the shorter. If you were doing a job in 2001, I mean, even if you were doing it, probably the skills are a little bit outdated. So you can mention one bullet point or so, but you don't need to explain very long, detailed work histories for roles that are very old. So the older, the shorter. To have an impactful CV, of course, we talked about results. You cannot have an impactful CV if you don't have your contact details, your email, your address. So already you're setting yourself up for failure if your CV lacks this important information, because even if you have the most amazing CV, a recruiter may want to contact you, but they will not be able to. Your LinkedIn is also important. You can include your LinkedIn URL on your CV, especially if it's up to date. Okay, and only if it's up to date. If you have a very dormant CV, it really adds nothing. Your CV structure, your personal profile, this is also important. There's a small paragraph at the beginning of the CV. People call it different things: personal profile, biopara. So this is a small paragraph at the beginning of your CV that includes who you are, what you can offer the organization, and what are your career goals. So for the people that are saying, I don't want to update my whole CV every time I'm applying for a new role, a small hack that you can do is update this short profile to every job that you are applying for. So aim to keep your profile short and sweet. And then this is a small section that you can update without necessarily having to go through the whole updating the whole CV. So for example, let's say you're applying for a job in marketing in a certain company. You can tailor that small paragraph to include the buzzwords that they use to show that you've really done your research. Which format can you use? Most people use a reverse chronological resume or a reverse chronological CV. They start with their most current or most recent job, and then it goes older and older and older. Other people use functional resumes. They focus on the positions that are relevant for the job. So for example, if they're doing something now that's not so relevant, they may exclude it. It's kind of difficult to do a functional resume unless you really have a lot of experience. So you can stick with the reverse chronological resume in your CV. That is an easier approach. Education and qualifications. Your education also should be listed in reverse chronological order. So if you have a PhD, a master's, and a bachelor's, your PhD should come first because that's reverse chronological order. You don't necessarily have to include the grades or anything like that. It doesn't really add much. Additional sections. If you're writing a functional CV like the one I showed you earlier for the person that was focusing on competencies, you can focus on competencies and write how your skills aligned with those competencies. So for some roles, like let's say the World Bank or some UN organizations, they tell you we're looking for those key competencies. So if you really have a rich profile, you can have a section for competencies. Hobbies and interests. This is debatable. Some people include them. I don't mind them at all, but it depends on the recruiter to show how you fit in the role. So for example, I do this role, the British Council. It's a volunteering role, but I include it in my CV. It's something that I'm passionate about. It's something that I'm proud of. And it's something that shows that although it's a hobby, but it really shows my passion for the advocacy that I'm doing. References is the last part. So references, some people write actual references. Some people say references provided upon request. Doesn't matter, but just to be ethical, you need to tell the people that you're listing as references that you are doing so. It could be current employers, managers, co-workers, academic supervisors. Okay, so let me show you another tool or the same website, but how you can check if your CV is compatible with a certain job. So this is the same website that we used earlier. You also get a few scans. So you can put your resume over here, and then you can copy paste a job description just over here. So over here, somebody tell me a job that you're applying for. Job description for what? The first person that types, I'm taking your your suggestion. Come on, job description for. Tell me a job that you're applying for. Wake up, wake up. Okay, I'm just gonna take the job description from this is an AI job description, right? So here, I just took a job description for an admin officer. There we go. I'm just going to copy it. Job description. What was it? An administrative officer, right? Okay. And I'm going to upload a resume. Let me see. All right. I'm just going to upload a CV that somebody sent to me. I'm not sure, all right? I don't remember what this person's profile entailed. I think this person was an accountant, if I remember correctly. So I'm just doing a quick scan. All right. So I'm doing a scan, right? This person is an accountant. And I'm just trying to see, let's say hypothetically, right, that I'm applying for this job. And I'm scanning the job description that I found on the internet that I want to apply for against the CV that I have. So already this person is an accountant. They do have some administrative skills. So the person had an okay hard skills match, soft skills match is 0, communication and other things of the sort. This person maybe is an accountant. They work mainly, they don't work, it's not a front-facing role, but the admin officer maybe it's a secretarial job or a more front-facing job. So this person had a soft skills match of 0%, but it's a good way to see, if your job matches the job description. So this is another tool that you can use, Cultivated Culture, the resume scanner. Okay, LinkedIn. I know I took a bit long on the CV, but that's why most people are here. LinkedIn. So again, it's important to have a LinkedIn profile. It's very, very important to have a LinkedIn profile. I love LinkedIn very much. If you're not following me there, you can. You should, okay? So I post a lot of opportunities there. So you can really level up your career with LinkedIn. It's an important platform to be, especially if you are actively in the job market. Okay, let me just, I'll show you my LinkedIn in a second. But there are some AI tools for LinkedIn. I know a lot of people struggle with LinkedIn or they don't like it. If you like LinkedIn, give me a heart emoji. Let me see if I'm the only one over here or if there's a fan base for LinkedIn. Okay, some hearts. Amazing. Amazing. So let me show you some LinkedIn tools that I found. Okay, so I can even test this with my own profile to show you the idea. All right. So this is my LinkedIn. This is my URL. I'm just going to copy it. Your URL should look something like this, linkedin.com/your name. If it does not, go to this little pen sign over here and change it. It should not be, my name is Bobby Smith 12982. No, please change it as much as possible so that it's your name. This is more professional, it's more presentable, and it's also more searchable. So first piece of homework, if your URL does not look like that, it's very easy. So there's a website that I found. It's called redactai.io. It's also a free tool that helps you optimize your LinkedIn. I tested this before, and it's going to give me feedback. So I'm just going to put my URL here, and it's going to give me feedback. So over here, it says my current headline, for example, is I post entry-level opportunities for youth. The AI tool is telling me I can improve it because I need to combine my advocacy with my professional expertise. I need to highlight my audience that I have 40,000 plus youth reached. And it provided me even with another strong headline that I should use. So International Development Specialist - UN World Food Program - youth employment and so forth. This is a personal choice that I have not included my day job in my URL because I use LinkedIn purely for advocacy. I'm not currently job hunting or anything like that, but the AI tool gives you already an example of a strong headline to use. So if you're not a LinkedIner and you don't know where to start, this is a good place to start. It helps you to improve your profile. Also for the summary component, I have a summary, but over here it tells me how I can improve the summary, and it has even rewritten it for me. So if you're not able to write it yourself, a good way to start is to go on this tool, and then it will give you some starting points. Like, for example, the headline, the summary, and also your experience. So it has written down my experience. It focused more on results-based language. It's telling me some suggestions: quantify your impact, start with action verbs, focus on achievements, keep descriptions concise. So whatever you do on your CV, so for example, we talked about the work history on your CV, and how you can make that more action-oriented. So over here, I can even use this advice myself. So I have my British Council role, and I have some of the things I didn't update this in a long time, but for example, some of the things that I've been doing: crafting compelling components, I don't know, lobbying for change, but I can already start writing the results of this work that I have been doing it since I have been doing it for a while. So the section on your CV where you have written the results, you can also come and plug that into your LinkedIn. Okay, so this was one of the posts. Sorry, this was one of the tools. This is the same tool, but a different tab. You can create a summary generator. So if you don't have a LinkedIn at all, so I plugged in my LinkedIn URL, and it suggested ways to improve them. If you want to help craft the summary section of your CV, you can tell this AI tool what it is that you do, who are you targeting, for example, founders, freelancers, and what do you want people to do after reading your summary? Do you want them to follow you? Do you want them to buy something? Do you want them to schedule a call? Do you want them to hire you? And then it will help you to generate the summary. So don't feel super on your own. There are nice tools to do that. There is a tool as well called Crystal Knows. Last week during the AI session, I showed you all how to use Crystal Knows. So Crystal Knows is an AI tool that works on LinkedIn. It only works if you're using Google Chrome, and it analyzes a person's LinkedIn profile, and then it tells you how you should communicate with the person. So you can also use AI tools for LinkedIn when you're networking with other people. So yeah, you also don't need to feel very on your own then. You can rely on the AI tools. For example, let me show you what it looks like. If you did not attend the session last week, so there's an AI tool, it plugs in and it tells you my personality type. Sorry. So it analyzes my personality. It tells you how you should communicate with me. If you want to communicate, it tells you that my personality type is that I'm thoughtful, I'm considerate, so you should take additional time. You should not push me to make a conclusion too quickly, and so forth. So there are AI tools as well that analyze people's personality in case you want to communicate with somebody else. I'm running out of time. If it's okay with everyone, I think I need like maybe another 10 minutes, if that's all right, to go through LinkedIn and then to answer any remaining questions. I'm sorry for running over time.
Yes, sure. Sure, Rawan.
All right.
No, it's fine.
Okay. So LinkedIn is important. If you don't have a LinkedIn, please prioritize making one. 9 out of 10 employers use LinkedIn during hiring. It's a digital impression, so you really need to make it count. If you will have a LinkedIn profile, then there's no point in having one that's not active, that's not updated. You can add a photo, import your contacts, have a headline. I showed you how to create one through using one of the AI tools. Your summary as well, you can generate it using AI. The more personal it is, the better. So you can sound like a human being, tell people what interests you, what you like, and so forth. Your experience, the same way that you did it, that we did it on the CV, you can list your jobs, followed by the accomplishments. Education, you can tag your institution, you can put your institution, and then put the certifications that you've received as well. The skills, LinkedIn allows you to put some skills. So you can add some technical skills, a mix of niche skills, and some high-level skills. So you can add a mix of the different skills that you have. And then the custom URL for easy sharing, I showed you how to do that as well. So the same tool I showed you earlier, you can put your headline and then it can also analyze it. So your headline is this thing that goes under your name over here. So I post entry-level jobs or whatever, you can put your LinkedIn headline, and the tool cultivatedculture.com/headline analyzer can also tell you how to improve it a bit. Build your network. If you are reluctant to network, you don't know how to talk to people, you can use a tool such as Crystal Knows. You can use a search to find mutual connections. And you can also recommend people or ask for recommendations. The same way you have recommendations or you have recommenders on your CV, there is a section on your LinkedIn called recommendations, and you can also ask people to recommend you. Of course, you can use LinkedIn to apply for jobs and referrals and so forth. Just a final reminder, your profile, if you're going to have a LinkedIn, it needs to be updated. It needs to be authentic, and you need to use it regularly. If it's just there collecting dust, it's not very useful. Checklist, I got this from my mentor. She's called Sue. So if you want to update your LinkedIn, you can look at this checklist. Somebody was asking in the chat for a checklist. So just a quick before and after, ask yourself, is my URL updated? Should have your name. So yes or no. Is your contact information updated? Yes or no. So your LinkedIn should be public. This is not the social media that you want to be private. If it's private, it's pretty much useless. It needs to be public. Professional, you need to have your email on there somehow. You need to be reachable. Some people even put their emails in the banner at the top so that it's easy for people to contact them and find them. So there's other things like the bio para or the about me section. The same way that I showed you, some of the AI tools can help you draft a short about me section. The same way that you have one on your CV, you should have one on your LinkedIn. You can have some featured sections, which are, for example, ask yourself, what would somebody need? Why are you using LinkedIn? Are you using it to make connections? Are you using it to sell something? Are you using it to be a change maker in your field? So your featured products should be that the person that said, I'm a researcher, I have lots of research papers. If there are research papers that are making a big bang in the field, this is where you should put them so people can see them. You can put your portfolio if you're a designer. You can put your CV even if that's something that you want people to see. Complete your work history, not just job titles and dates. Add key skills. So the same way that we were going through the work history today, your LinkedIn also needs to have action verbs, it needs to have results, and so forth. Your skills, you can order your skills on LinkedIn. So let's say you're a graphic designer, you know how to use Adobe Illustrator, you know how to use Canva, and you know how to use InDesign. You can put these at the bottom, and then publications as well. So whenever you do something, before and after. I will share the presentation. There is a prompt that I included if you want ChatGPT to help you update your CV. So you tell it, imagine you're an experienced LinkedIn profile strategist, help me create a headline or so forth. So you can also, of course, use ChatGPT. So finally, remember, I want you to remember today that making a CV or making a LinkedIn or having an impactful profile will be easy if you are passionate about what you do and you're showing up consistently. So that's the message I want you to leave with. I do have a book on Amazon called No More Job Secrets if you are interested to read it. This was the third of 4 career sessions. So the last one is on August 24th, and it will be on career decision making. If you want to attend, I think Simon can help me by putting the link in the chat. And that's it. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Yeah, you can follow me on LinkedIn or send me a message if you have a question. If you still have a question, my email is nomorejobsecrets@gmail.com. I hope you enjoyed the session today. I hope you learned something new, and I hope you have the courage to make at least one change in your CV and your LinkedIn to make them more impactful. Thank you, and I'm sorry for running a little bit over time.
Thank you so much, Rawan. Thank you, everyone. Rawan, we have some question in Q's and A's section. So can we answer them, please?
Yes, I can't see them though. I can't see the
Yeah.
Q&A.
Okay. So did you answer them during the session, or
Yes, yes, yes.
can
I
we read
answered
them now?
some. I
Okay.
answered some. I thought you were saying the Q&A section. Okay, so
Okay.
addressing a gap
Perfect.
period in the CV, we talked about that. The research papers, we talked about that. The link, the presentation will be shared after the session. Yes. So
Yeah.
as soon as Sandra shares the recording with me, I will share it on my LinkedIn, and then I will also share it on YouTube. I think we can also share the recording with the participants. Um, Okay, somebody's asking, what about the courses and workshops I have attended? Should I include them in the CV? Okay, honestly, I don't include all the courses and workshops I have attended in the CV. So this is a good question. So you can have a secret CV or a life CV, including all the amazing, fabulous things that you have done in your life, all the courses that you've attended, all the workshops that you have participated in. And then when you're tailoring your CV, you can go back to this mega document of everything that you've attended in your life and pick and choose the things that are relevant. So, for example, if you're applying for a job, let's say as an HR recruiter, you can go back and only pick those certain courses. If you've attended other courses, let's say on marketing, things that are not so relevant, there wouldn't be so much of a place. If you include all the courses, some workshops and courses are like 1 hour, 2 hours, it may become too long of a list. Let me see. Let me see. How many bullet points per job? There isn't necessarily a formula for how many bullet points you should have per job. But as I said, the more recent jobs or the current jobs will have more than your very old or very previous jobs. I think that's it. These are the questions that I can see. The rest I answered them while I was presenting. If not, if I missed anybody's question, you can
Yeah.
feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn.
Thank you so much, Rawan, and thank you everyone for joining us today. I encourage you to keep an eye on your email address. We will send you the confirmation email regarding our fourth and last session on 24th of August with Rawan. So please keep in touch and see you in the next session. Bye bye. Thank you, Rawan. Bye bye.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.